and welcome to a rather wet and damp Lake District. Nothing unusual about that. Today I'm going to have a walk alongside the River Brathay, see if there's anything that I can take photographically. I've come from Chapel Style today, walked through the fantastic village of Elterwater. You probably hear the odd car here. We're just by the main road that runs from Ambleside through to Elterwater. Later on in the programme itself, I'll be telling you one or two facts about Elterwater. As I've mentioned before, I like to be immersed in the landscape here. I always think it's important to know where it is that you are. But there's one fact in particular that I bet most of you aren't aware of, and it is on a world stage. So, in the interim, I want to go and dry off for about 5 or 10 minutes, have a piece of cake and a coffee, and I'll see you shortly. I make no apology for the fact that I've just had a brew and a cake, and I enjoy that. One of the problems I have is I have an overactive knife and fork, so occasionally, you know, I've got to fill the old pot. When people do this walk to Elterwater itself, they walk through these buildings, and well, I'm not being too unkind, but I think the majority of people literally just walk through and see them as derelict, and they are. There's no hiding the fact that they're derelict. But the history that they have is absolutely fantastic and is endemic with the growth of Elterwater. And I've mentioned before that one of the things I love is this immersive feeling of being part of somewhere and researching it. I came down here best part of 20 years ago, and was very lucky to be with David Powell Thompson, a very well, for me, David knows more about the lakes than anybody else. And he was telling me about these specific buildings and their impact upon Elterwater. And this one here was a sawmill, and there was a race when they used the power of the water to drive the mill. They also, at one point, built barrels. It was a cooperage, and that'll come into something I tell you later on. And the other one here has been connected for years with quarrying and slate. I'll tell you a little bit more later on. I reckon something like 40-mile-an-hour winds today, so get out of this tree area and hopefully get to a position alongside the Brathay, because that's where I'm going, the River Brathay. Absolutely love it. And get one or two snaps. Now these are the steps and the little bridge over to Skelwith Fold. You can see the waterfall there. It's not in spate. I've taken a few snaps here in the past, but I've never been happy with them, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you the number of times I've walked down this path, and I mean, going to Elterwater, it's accepted it's a bit of a honeypot. It's a lovely place, and this walk is a simplistic walk, and by that I mean it's virtually level. You get mountain bikers down here, loads of people with the dogs. It's a lovely place in summer. It's a great walk. They go to the cafe to start with. Did I mention coffee and cake? And they end up in the pub and have a pie and a pint, and there's not a lot wrong with that, and it's a bit of a linear walk and they come back. I mean, there are those that do the Cumbria way, and this actually intersects with that, but for me it's the Brathay, and it's the actual photography on the Brathay that I love. I'm going to take you to a little spot now that I photographed literally 20 years ago. Be interested to see what it looks like today. As landscape photographers, one of the things we're always after is something different. And when I first came along here many years ago, I noticed that stump in the water there. You know, the thing with the hair on the top? I mean, I didn't have hair at the time anyway, but I took some pictures of it and I was absolutely delighted. And it was one of my introductions into what I now know are intimate landscapes, those integral parts of the landscape that form the picture that's before us. I'm going to walk off now, and as I do, I'm going to show you some pictures that I've taken here before. So in time-honoured tradition, here's a few I made earlier. Okay, I've moved just a few hundred yards from where I mentioned about the stump, and well, it's raining. It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's the lakes. I quite like this little inlet, and I just thought with it being a grey winter's day that it would look quite nice. Stark. I like the stark aspect of it. Because of the rain, I've put the lens hood on, and I've dropped a 0.6 grad into the filter holder. Set the focus on the little island there, this hairy island thing, and well, let's see what we get. Now that is one of the most iconic views in the Lake District. Elterwater, and well, you can't quite see the Langdale Pikes today, but believe me, they're there. The Clagsdown. Particularly like taking snaps here, but today is not the day for that. It's just a little bit, it's not quite right. But over the years, I've taken a substantial number. I'll put one or two of them up now. One of the things that I do like, and I have liked that I've taken, was an intimate of the reeds here. I think it was one of the better ones. It was on a really frosty morning. I'm going to move. The rain's actually starting to get a little bit heavier now. I probably should put a hat on. But I'm going to move off and take you to somewhere that I think sets Elterwater apart from many other places.
However, before we get there, I have to mention the dramatic Langdale Pikes. These iconic peaks dominate the skyline and create one of the most recognisable landscapes in the Lake District. Their rugged outlines, especially Paviarch, Harrison Stickle and Pike of Stickle, attract walkers, climbers and photographers throughout the year. They stand as a marker presiding over all that has gone on before them as people began farming and quarrying in the valley. And the view of the pikes changes constantly throughout the seasons. Of course, they aren't always visible when the clag is down, but to see them bathed in summer sunshine or dusted with snow in winter is an unmistakable view, and when reflected in Blee Tarn on calm days, they create magical images. For many visitors, seeing the Langdale Pikes for the first time captures the wild beauty and timeless character that make this part of Cumbria so memorable.
When I began this programme, I said I'd tell you a couple of facts about this place which make it that little bit more special. To my right now are the Langdale estates. But many, many moons ago, just across the way here, and there are still remnants of the buildings, of what was a gunpowder factory. Many fatalities happened at one time, of which one of them was a gentleman called John Foxcroft, and I'll come back to that later on. But the other name, which is synonymous with this little stretch of road here, was behind these gates. Kurt Schwitters.
I first became aware of him in 2010 when photographing the band British Sea Power, who were influenced by his works and were visiting his Merz Barn project here at Cylinders. This old building is where he created his renowned Merz installation, which is now in the Hatton Museum in Newcastle.
Well, as you can see, I'm back in the office now, and that was a couple of weeks ago, and I fully intended to do the piece to camera at the end there just to tail the programme off outside the Merz Barn, but the rain got so heavy, messes my hair up, so just thought I'd delay it a little. It was a revelation for me when I found out about Kurt Schwitters. That was 2010, and well, I hadn't a clue, and I'd driven past those gates on a number of occasions, and not once had I thought, what's going on there? There wasn't the big posters, the stickers on there at all at the time. There was nothing to indicate that there was something special that had gone on behind there. And now when I look back at that, I find that quite remarkable when you consider who he was in life and who he has become lauded since his death. You've got people like Andy Warhol, Damien Hirst. They see him as an icon, as a pioneer of pop art. And yet he ended up creating work, as he put it, this natural merge of what he saw in the Lake District with the actual physicality of the building. Quite extraordinary. And no real markers. I mean, if you go to the grave in Ambleside, you'll see there is a statue there. He was buried there originally, and then he was disinterred and taken back to his hometown in Germany. But an incredible life, and I've put the links down below, and hopefully you'll follow that up and have a look, because as I say, it did make an impact on me. And one of the things it made me think about is my own work as a photographer, because I'm quite simple. I'm simplistic in the way that I look at photography. I like the bigger views. I love what nature has presented in front of me, and I like to be able to capture that throughout the seasons, the different weathers. I find that quite fantastic, to be honest with you. But there are some amazing photographers who've gone what you might term outside the box, and they create wonderful images, and we should applaud them for what they do. Me, I'm just that guy that walks along the river with a camera, and I love the word serendipity. You just take what you find. I very, very rarely go out with the intention of today I'm going to do this, today I'm going to do that. I mean, this whole video has been about a walk along the Brathay, a bit of coffee and cake on the way, of course. But to be able to find that, I mean, I've seen that inlet on many occasions, and sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. As it was today, it worked out, but I had to wait a while. And I didn't like the stick that had landed in there. It was obviously a bit of detritus that had got in there over time. But for me, to be able to walk along that river with the kit on my back and make decisions as to what I was going to do and when I was going to do, that to me is what my photography is all about. Whether that be the bigger view or whether that be the intimates. Oh, I mentioned John Foxcroft earlier on. Well, he sadly lost his life at Cylinders. But there have been many sightings of a man fitting his description, same clothes, looking around the barn and peering into the windows. I didn't see anything, but hey, you never know. This has been a whirlwind visit to what is known as the gateway to the Langdales. The Brathay is a fabulous river and has always produced images for me that I liked no matter what time of day. And as for Kurt, well, it's amazing what you can find when you look deeper into where you are. And for me, I've always found that fascinating. No cake for me today, but the coffee is calling, so I will see you next time.